For my fermented food, I will be making pickles. So the cucumbers are in the brine, and then there's dill for flavor, and then there's aluminum foil for a weight to keep everything underneath. So now we wrap it in a kitchen towel and let it ferment for 2 to 5 days. Okay, so in my pickle making process, the microbes that were involved it started off as streptococci, and that provided the initial acid, and then leuconostoc, pediococcus, and lactobacillus occur once there is a change in the pH levels. So those are the microbes that begin to grow once the food begins fermenting. And the real key is lactic acid, which the lactic acid forms and it starts to ferment the pickles, and it helps with storage for long term. The purpose of adding the salt to the water was to change the pH and to kickstart the bacterial growth and the fermentation process. Salt is also used to help the lactic acid bacterium be the strongest, the winning microbe, effectively eating away the sugars that were in the cucumber. So that's how the pickles become sour. And then my other ingredient was dill, and that was dill leaves, and that was just for flavor. Once you seal the top of your container, it is important not to let excess oxygen in the container. The oxygen levels can accelerate the growth of negative bacteria, or bacteria that you don't want for this process. The lactic acid needs to be the highest level of bacteria, and when you allow more oxygen in, it gives opportunity for the other bacteria to race ahead and become the winning one. So the oxygen level needs to be sealed and left tightly the whole time. The temperature matters because it can change the amount of bacteria and also the speed of its growth. So if your storage room is too hot, it can rapidly grow unwanted bacteria. So bacteria that we don't want to grow can begin to grow if your room is too hot. But if your room is too cold, the growth rate will be very slow, and so it will take longer to ferment overall. When we started off with the cucumber, the pH level was about 6 to 7, and when you're finished, the pH level of a pickle is about 3 to 4. So we are leaning more towards the acidic side of the pH scale, obviously giving the pickles their sour taste. My recipe is, I think, on the way to being successful. I have not tasted them yet because the recipe was to ferment them for 2 to 5 days, and it's only been the minimum of 2 days, and so they don't look very pickly yet in the jar. And so I'm not going to open it yet because I don't want to ruin it, and also I don't want to eat it if it's gross. So I think it was successful. It's looking like some action is happening, but I haven't tasted them yet to see if they taste successful. And then if I had to change something, if I would do it again, I think I would maybe get something to seal in between the lid and the jar for less oxygen to get in, because my jar was not as tight as it could have been. It wasn't a canning jar, and so I think that was a mistake maybe. So it might not turn out simply because there's too much oxygen in there, but I would say overall mildly successful.